looks like there's some Acanthogorgia as well. So we say corallium, but actually what we really mean is hemicorallium. The family Corallidae was recently updated.
Ooh. I think I see a nice rock down there.
Video, that lighting looks fairly even to me. How do you like it?
How can you see it behind all those corals?
Right now,
I must admit I can't see the forest for the trees, but
background look fairly well lit.
I do see something.
See some hotter lighting.
That might actually be loose. It's just on the right side of your screen.
This
so
angle
these
of the
yellow
ROV
colonies,
camera
I
looks
think the polyps look a little big for Acanthogorgia, so these may be something like Plexaurids. This is indeed hemicorallium. Boy, a beautiful big colony. So Scott, blast away at what you want to look at.
Can't hear you, Roland.
Any chance we get this from the
so many choices,
oblique
Chris,
side?
From the what side?
We're going by
straight on the side right now. We're sort of down on an angle, so we're not seeing the full.
So did you want to look at the Squat Lobster that's toward the base of this particular coral, or are you mostly focused on commensals on isitids?
No, I think the Squat Lobster would be nice to get a look at. One of the questions ultimately that people will have is, do you see animals on the coral? Are they the same animals that you would see on the natural bottom? Or does the presence of the coral mean you get a different suite of species? And so if we look at some of these animals that are on the bottom around the coral, we can start to determine if are they the same or not.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, that's the voice of Scott France from the University of Louisiana Lafayette. I need to call out some of the people who are now with us. We have Diva Amon, who's in Trinidad at the moment, a deep water biologist who's worked a lot in the manganese nodule field and the Clarion Clipperton fracture zone. We have Abby Laponte, who's with Les Watling's lab, and she's a deep water bamboo coral specialist, another also biogeographer. Asako Matsumoto from Chiba Institute in Japan is a deep water coral specialist. Bruce Mundy from the NOAA Fisheries Science Center, who's a deep and shallow water fish expert. We've also got Deborah Glickson from Harbor Branch, and she is a geologist. She was also on our leg one of the Marianas cruise with Diva Amon. We've got Patty Fryer. Hello, Patty, and she was a geologist on the recently completed leg 3 of the Marianas cruise. Scott France, I already mentioned, and Tina Molitsova from the Shirshov Institute of Oceanology in Moscow, also a deep water coral specialist, black corals, serianthids, all types of things. So we've got a really a good group here with us this morning. We're going to help you and us with the identifications of what we're seeing. This is presumably a chirostylid.
For me,
go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say this is good for me when video feels comfortable with their shot. And I just wanted to add to what I had said earlier.
And get a full screen of
we refer to the term associates repeatedly, which is referring to animals that live associated with either the sponges or the corals that we're looking at. And we have some pretty good evidence that there are some species of associates that will only be found on certain species of corals or sponges. There are others that are much more general, but they typically do like to be off the rock bottom. And then there are others that we see on rock bottom.
I said that's full wide. So that's one can you rise up just a little bit to get the top in?
And the reason that's important
to get the top
is because it can tell us
just to get the whole frame.
The corals contribute to the community.
Yeah, my screen it was top is cut off, but it's center now.
Protecting areas
Video's clear.
Rich biodiversity, a large number of species.
That was a big coral.
You turn the lasers on too?
Yeah, get lasers, Copilot.
Other animals associated.
Lasers were on during the measurement. We only turned it off for
in the Pacific. So rocks are a most definite part of our collecting activities.
Hey Chris, what else would you like to see?
So one of these yellow colonies, maybe the one that's directly below the pink one right in front of us.
Copy.
Josh, you were indicating you couldn't hear me. My level over here is pushing the average. You may want to check to see if somebody dropped it on your panel.
Yep. Come on in, Roland.
Yeah, it's got a little something on it as well.
Coming tight.
I don't know what Tina's COCAC, what does that refer to?
Maxim.
I think she thinks that this is an Acanthogorgid in the family Acanthogorgidae. I think that's probably...
Got it. CORAC. Oh, I get it. She just had a little typo there. Got it.
Right. And, yeah, so that's a little brittle star with its arms sort of tightly wound around one of the branches. And I'm glad I held
Another
off.
brittle
I was going to say that I was surprised, at least in this initial view, not to obviously see lots of brittle stars on these different colonies. They're one of the most common associates that we see. There's another one up near the top there.
So our pilot right now, Josh, he pointed out something the other day when we were processing one of the specimens and found a little tiny brittle star on it. You know, he made the observation.
Yeah, that was
well,
the first. Oh, I see the one on the right.
We know that these guys are getting on the corals at a really young age, so it's not as though they're crawling along the bottom and then crawling up a coral that they find. This was a really baby brittle star that we had in the lab on a fairly large primnoid coral, so it's not as though the brittle star found it right off the bat. It was pretty interesting, just a little clue as to what's going on down here between the associates and their coral hosts.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different species of brittle stars, and some of them do seem to be in a very close association with corals, and so we wouldn't normally see them on the bottom. There are others that do climb on and climb off. In fact, sometimes we see them kind of parachuting off of the colonies when we disturb it. But I would absolutely expect that some of these brittle stars they brood their embryos, and so could release young brittle stars onto the colony, and so maybe that's exactly what you found, one that had recently been given birth to.
Okay, so we've completed this one. Let's see if we can find some